You want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day? My book, The Mirror Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you.
DreAllDay.com.
Start your day off with an excellent decision, or you ended that way, or somewhere in the middle. You have tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you also are getting a huge dose of personal initiative, the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast, the philosophy, the book known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is when you see your chance, take it. Now, I've talked about this is an idea of a combination of several things. First of all, awareness. Another one is mental toughness. Another is focus. Another is urgency. Another is opportunism, taking advantage of opportunity when you see it, and or creating an opportunity when you don't see the one that you want. It's a combination of all of these that we're talking about here today. And in several past episodes, I've talked about this. If you are a member of the game group, you can just go into the category about timing and urgency, and you'll have these all categorized. But also I have mentioned these in episode number 842 about fast opportunity, taking advantage quickly. Episode 751, the opportunity does not knock. Episode is also an opportunity, 549, that the real ones create their own opportunities, in episode number 273, the Hawk mentality. But today is all about being ready to move when that chance comes. You're waiting on, the chance that you're hoping to create, or the chance that you're hoping will come your way. When that chance comes, you got to be ready to move to action, because opportunities do not sit around and wait. Chances do not sit around and wait. When the timing is right, the timing is right. And when that timing is no longer right, then the opportunity, the chance, the everything else that would have came with it goes at the exact same time. It is not going to wait around for you. So that's the idea that I hope to imbue in you by the end of today's episode. So if you have something to take notes with, I suggest you take notes. He's not going to remember everything that I say. Let's get into it. Point number one. Today's topic is when you see your chance, take it. First point, pay attention. In order to take a chance, when that chance comes around, especially one that is time-based, and every opportunity in life is time-based. We know this because your whole life is time-based. Because when the time runs out in your life, every opportunity that you've been working on, waiting on, hoping to nurture, trying to get through, is over. It's all over as soon as you run out of time. So every opportunity in life is time-based. Therefore, you need to be paying attention. That's one of your 5 forms of investment. In addition to time, we have attention, focus, energy, and money. So attention is another. So you can use one of these forms of investment to get another. Paying attention properly, you can take advantage of time, right? So not paying attention to everything that's going on, because then your attention and your focus will be split all over the place, but paying attention to the things that can actually help you get to where you want to go. So in order for you to know what those things are that you should be paying attention to, we got to take a step backwards and answer the previous question, which is, where do you want to go? What is your outcome? What is your goal? What do you need? What is the next thing that you're looking to achieve? And what needs to be in place in order for you to achieve it? What do you not have that you need right now? Do you not have the right person, the right information, some other resource, the right action need to be taken, the right marks on your resume? What is it that you need in order to get to where you're going next? You got to be paying attention so that whenever that thing or that person or that place or that whatever exists, it makes itself available to you in your life, you're ready to move on it. Because again, if you're not paying attention and you miss that opportunity, it'll just be gone. And then you'll be sitting there thinking the opportunity never came my way, when the opportunity did come your way, you just weren't paying attention, so you didn't see it. So you think you've never gotten an opportunity, but you've gotten plenty. So anyone who's listening to this, if you feel or you have ever felt like you never got the right opportunity to do what you wanted to do in certain areas of your life, maybe every aspect of your life, understand opportunities have been there all the time. It's just a matter of whether you noticed the opportunity or not. Most people don't acknowledge a missed opportunity that they never paid attention to, simply because they don't know that they missed it. And often, even when people do not even acknowledge, but know that they missed on an opportunity, they won't admit that they just missed out on an opportunity. They'll just say, well, I haven't had one. No one's giving me a chance. I get these messages from people every now and then who says, well, no one's giving me a chance. Nobody's helped me out. I never gotten the right opportunity, but if I just had an opportunity, I would go and make something happen. Well, listen, all the opportunity that you're claiming to not have might be passing you by right at the very moment that you're feeling, what's the word? You're feeling, the word is escaping me right now. When you're just feeling as if the life has victimized you, when you're feeling helpless, when you're feeling nothing is working in your favor, but things are just working for everyone except you. You feel like you got that rain cloud following over your head, like the guy in the comic strip. When you're thinking about that, even the time that you spend thinking about it, the mental energy you give to that, nonetheless, talking about it or writing about it or complaining about it or bitching about it or crying yourself to sleep over it, the exact moment and the exact energy that you utilize in order to do that, you're missing out on an opportunity that could be right behind you, but you're looking the wrong direction. Opportunity could be to your left, but you're looking to the right. The opportunity could be right in front of you, but you got your eyes closed because you have blinded yourself. Maybe your eyes are open, but they're really closed because you blinded yourself to seeing the opportunity, because you have incanted by saying over and over to yourself, whether in your mind or out loud, that the opportunities just aren't happening for you. You blind yourself to something that could be right in front of your face. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of I don't even know what they call it, like the gorilla experiment. And the way the gorilla experiment works is they tell people, hey, watch this scene that's going on in a TV show. Watch the screen and watch this scene right here. And there'll be some actors that are doing something on the scene. And they say, I want you to pay attention to how many times somebody says a certain word, or pay attention to this one particular person and see what they're doing, or pay attention to this conversation and tell me what you're seeing. So they fix the subject, the person who's the test subject, they fix their attention on a certain thing in that scene, and then they play the scene. The scene might be 30 seconds long or 2 minutes long, and they tell that person exactly what to look for, what to pay attention to while they're watching. And as soon as the scene's over, we're going to ask you some questions about it just to see how well you are paying attention. So they tell people to do that, and the people are paying attention to whatever they were assigned to pay attention to. And during that 30-second or 2-minute clip, this is what happens. A person wearing a big gorilla suit, like a full body suit, dressed up as a gorilla, like for Halloween, they walk through the middle of the scene while whatever is going on is happening. And when the scene ends, the testers, the people who are running this experiment, they start asking the people about the things that they asked them to pay attention to. And you know what happens often? Nobody ever notices that the gorilla walked through the middle of the scene. No, they became attention blind because their attention was told to be focused on a specific thing. And when we are so focused attention-wise on a specific thing, specific area or whatever in our lives, we are completely blind to something else that could be happening right in front of us simply because we're not looking for it. So the first thing is paying attention. Where are you paying attention? To what are you paying attention? Do you have any answers for what you should be paying attention to based on where you claim that you want to go? Point number 2. Today's topic is when you see your chance, take it. Do not hesitate when you see your shot. Whenever that chance occurs to you and you know it's your chance or you believe it is, don't hesitate. You know, the thing in sports, hesitation is fatal in sports. In a game like basketball, the difference between an open shot and a contested shot, or no shot at all, you can't even get the shot off because the defender is too close to you, is a matter of tenths of a second. It's a split second. In other words, when the passer in basketball, if you throw a very accurate pass, your teammate will get off an open shot. Your pass is somewhat accurate. Let's say 85% accurate. Your teammate has to reach or bend down or lean to the left or to the right in order to catch the ball that you've thrown. Now they're going to have a contested shot, meaning there's a defender who's putting a hand in your face while you're shooting. Is not as easy of a shot based on what we understand about basketball when a defender has a hand in your face as opposed to when you're wide open. And if you throw a bad pass, let's say it's only 50% accurate, by the time your opponent catches the ball, gathers, and settles himself, he won't be able to even get the shot off because the defender is too close. Excuse me. That's what it means when you're hesitating. It's the same thing as getting a bad pass. In football, for example, if you're trying to tackle the opponent and you hesitate to move, you believe instinctively where the opponent is going to move next, and you would need to physically move to that spot so you can tackle them, but you hesitate. You need to think about it a little bit to make sure you're in the right spot. In football, they say you're getting to the right spot, but you're not shooting your guns, so to speak. By the time you make a decision, the player you are about to tackle has already run past you and is over. In baseball, if a pitch is getting thrown to you and you think it's one pitch, but then you decide to think about it, by the time you figure out whether to swing or not, the ball is already in the catcher's mitt and the umpire is yelling out strike. Right? So in life, by the same token, Some opportunities only exist in that moment when they're happening. Anybody who works in sales knows this. If you can't close a prospect right now, today, on the spot, that prospect won't be as hot tomorrow or next week as they are right now. If you can't close that deal now, that deal may not close at all. We often, just all of us as humans in general, we lull ourselves into procrastination by rationalizing our hesitation. In other words, we make up stories that make it okay for us to have hesitated, for us to have passed on an opportunity, for us to have not taken our shot when we saw that the shot was open because we already didn't do it. I mean, opportunity's already passed. We got to come up with a story in our mind that makes it okay. The problem with rationalizing doing the thing that we didn't want to do or not doing the thing that we did want to do is that we are conditioning ourselves to make the exact same mistake the next time. See, this is where you might need to be a little bit harder on yourself. This is where you might need a coach. This is where you might need someone who is your friend, but they don't need to be your friend in your life. Someone who can tell it to you straight when you've messed up so that you don't rationalize every mistake that you make. You don't rationalize every time you hesitate and miss out on an opportunity, because the more you do that, the more you're conditioning yourself to believe that it's okay. And you're going to do the exact same thing again the next time and the next time and the next time. It becomes a habit. I heard someone say that most people don't do things one time. People don't do things one time. In other words, when, as the saying goes, the cliche that you've probably heard is when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Meaning they showed you something one time, believe that they're probably going to do that again, because people don't do things just one time. When people say, this is my first time ever doing this, I've never done this before, a lot of times they're lying. They've done it before. They're just saying that to you, hoping that you believe that this is a one-time thing, but it's probably not. Maybe sometimes they're telling the truth, but a lot of times they're not. People don't do things just once. We are creatures of habit, us human beings. Deep habits. I talked about this in my book, Work on Your Game. 85% of the things that we think about and 85% of the things that we do are unconscious and habitual, meaning we just do them and we're not even thinking about it. And we do them over and over and over again. And until or unless you become conscious of the habits that you have, you're just going to keep doing the same stuff over and over again, which is great. If you have everything you want in your life right now, just keep doing the same thing, you'll be good. But if you don't, then you might need to start becoming conscious of your habits of thought and your habits of action. Because if you don't change them, then you're just going to keep getting the same thing that you've always been getting. And we all know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you don't get control of your habits, one bad habit being rationalizing mistakes that you make, whatever you judge to be a mistake or what you would deem to be a mistake if you're being honest with yourself. If you get in the habit of rationalizing those mistakes, you're just going to keep doing that. And before you know it, you're going to be on your deathbed wondering why you didn't do so many things, wondering why you passed on so many opportunities, not because they didn't exist, just because maybe you weren't paying attention and or you hesitated when you did see your shot. You saw it, but then you hesitated. In sports, you can't hesitate. The higher the level of sport you're playing in, the more hesitation, the longer it takes for you to act on the opportunity, the less chance you'll actually get anything out of that opportunity. In the sales business, if you don't close that prospect on the spot when they're hot and bothered, you're probably not going to close. Most of them you won't be able to close the next day because they're not in the same state. They're not in that same state of energy that they were the day before. Some of them you'll be able to, but a lot of them you won't. And I've worked in sales before. If I wasn't able to close them that day, most of them did not close later on. There were a few who I would be in a conversation with them, show them the product or the service, and they're ready to buy, but they didn't buy, and they said, look, I got to think about it. Let me talk to this person. Let me do this and that. Get in touch with me again. 92% of them never heard from them again, or they just didn't do it. Maybe 8%, and that might be being generous, ended up calling me back the next day and actually buying what they had to think about from the previous day. Most of the time people say they had to think about it. They do want to think about it, and they just keep thinking about it. They are still thinking about it to this day. All right, there's some people I tried to sell a gym membership to 15 years ago who are still thinking about it. And I'm not talking about them, and we could be talking about them, but that's a different discussion for a different day. I'm talking about you as a salesperson, you as the person who is the one who has the burden of action on their side. You're the one who has to take the action. If you don't get it done now, you probably won't have another chance in the future to get it done. We lull ourselves in that procrastination by rationalizing our hesitation, believing that every opportunity will either wait on us, it'll be around the next day. If it's here today and I can get it tomorrow, no, bullshit. Wrong. People who come into power in life make decisions quickly and definitively. Don't take my word for this. Think of the most powerful person who you know personally. Who's the most powerful person that you know? I mean, someone that you have their name and number in your phone, you can have a conversation with them. You've seen this person in person sometime over the last 12 months. Who is that person? Are they a person who makes decisions quickly? Do they make decisions definitively? I'm going to guess that you're saying yes and yes about that individual. And if they are, let's say, because listen, nobody's perfect, right? No human being is infallible. Let's say they make this quick, definitive decision that ends up being a wrong decision. What do you do then? Then they adjust things, whether themselves, their ideas, their actions, circumstances, in order to make that wrong decision become a right decision. And we're going to talk about that in the episode. I'm going to be talking about the term self-determinism, which might come out tomorrow. We'll see. Point number 3. Today's topic is when you see your chance, you must take it, because otherwise somebody else is going to take it or the chance will just evaporate. Default to action over inaction. We talked about having an action bias about a month or two ago. Here on this show, I talked about having an action bias in your life. And there's a whole category on taking action, moving with urgency in the game group categories section of all the 700 plus hours that we have going on here in this podcast. You must default yourself to action over inaction. In other words, when you have a choice between doing something and doing nothing, you are better off most of the time doing something. Now, are there times in life where it makes sense to not do something and it will be beneficial to not do something? And in the long run, you will look back and say it was better that I didn't do something? Yes, of course. What I'm telling you is the default. I'm not saying every single time, but the default. If you have a choice between I could do something and I could do nothing, you should probably do something. And I'm going to tell you why. Here's my argument for why you should default to action over inaction, just as a blanket philosophy, regardless of what the situation is. Okay, here it is. Reason A. You're better off doing something and being wrong than doing nothing and having a big question mark and always wondering, I wonder what would have happened had I taken action in that situation. How many of those do you have in your past? How many big question marks? Here's the question for you. How many I want you to compare these two numbers if you can think of them on a rough scale. How many actions have you taken that you regret? You're like, man, I really should not have done that. Think about how many of those you have, and then compare that to how many big question marks you have, where you're saying, damn, if I had done this, I wonder what would have happened. And you always, for the rest of your life, is just a big question mark because you didn't do anything, and you'll never know what that result would have been. How many do you have of each? I'm going to guess, I'm willing to wager money, that if I wager money against every single person who's listening to this, overall, I'm going to come out very, very much on top. That you have many more big question marks than you have regrets of action. All of us do. Therefore, this reason could be reason alone right here, is that you're better off doing something and being wrong and regretting it, even regretting it, saying, man, I really, really, really should not have taken that action. You're better off with that as a thought in your head than I wonder what would have happened. I wonder what could have been. I wonder what should have been. I wonder what I would have achieved had I done something there. True or not? I mean, we could give a whole episode just to that alone. And reason B, I'm going to give you another reason why you should default to action over inaction. Because being a person of action separates you from the people who are too afraid of the unknown to take any action that is not guaranteed. That's a long sentence. Let me say it again. Being a person who defaults to action separates you just by this very habit alone, this very quality alone. This separates you from everyone else out there who is too afraid of the unknown. And anytime we're taking action, we don't know exactly what's going to happen most of the time, right? It separates you from people who are too afraid of that unknown to take any action that's not guaranteed. In other words, most people will only take action. If they have a choice between do something and do nothing, most people only do something when they have some reason to believe that the outcome is guaranteed. Most people will not take action if they're not 100% sure what the outcome is going to be, because many people are very afraid of, people are just afraid, period. I told you that in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill lays out the 6 basic human fears. And there's a reason why he lays out 6 basic human fears, because human beings are controlled by fear. If you listen to or read Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil, which didn't come out till 70, almost 80 years after Napoleon Hill died, because his family was so afraid of the backlash that he would get from the educational and religious and political systems because of what he said in this book. So go get that book. It's not a very long book. It's not as long as Think and Grow Rich. Go get that book and read it, and you'll understand what I mean. But there's a reason why Napoleon Hill laid out the 6 basic fears. He didn't lay out the 6 basic happinesses He laid out the 6 basic fears because human beings are controlled by fear. You want to control somebody, all you got to do is get them afraid of something. Watch the news. Listen to politics. All they talk about is things that are going to make you afraid because they know that causes people to action. That causes people to do something or causes people to do nothing. Whatever outcome they're trying to get from you, all they got to do is get you controlled by that fear, and they can basically move you around like a puppet. That's the way the media works. Even people who are in sales do the exact same thing. Look at some ads and you'll see it yourself. The second point, again, most people, and we're still in the third point rather, this is reason B why you should default to action over inaction. Most people are too afraid to take action that does not have a guaranteed outcome. So which one are you? Or which one are you going to be moving forward? And the reason C why you should default to action over inaction: action creates energy, and energy creates momentum. Energy is 85% of the job in all of life. Skill matters, luck matters, talent matters, timing matters, positioning matters, relationships matter. All of those add together to make up about 15% of your outcomes. 85% of every outcome you create in life is based on energy. The energy of your belief in yourself, the energy of how other people perceive you, which is only 100% sourced from how you feel about you. How you feel about you tells everybody else how to feel about you. How willing you are to push, how willing you are to keep showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the outcomes you have expected to achieve have yet to be achieved. That's a matter of energy. That's a question of energy. It's not a question of skill. It's not a question of talent. Action, doing things, creates energy. See, people think that if you sit around and rest, that creates energy. No, doing stuff creates energy. It's called kinetic energy. That's energy in motion. Potential energy is energy in a state of rest. But the law of inertia says an object that is in a state of rest shall remain in a state of rest unless acted upon by some outside force, and an object that is in motion shall remain in motion until or unless acted upon by an outside force. Action creates energy. Energy creates momentum. What is momentum? It is movement that is happening that feeds off of itself. The fact that you're already moving, you just keep moving. You don't even have to supply anything. You just let it keep going. That's what momentum is. In Donald Trump's book, I forget what book this was. Might have been The Art of the Deal. Might have been a book called Think Big and Kick Ass. I believe that's what the book was. It's actually a really good book about thinking big, is about goal setting and about self-confidence, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump. If you didn't know he was the author and you read this book, you would say it's a great book. Those of you who are really anti-Trump for whatever reason. But again, we already talked about that. He told this story in his book of how he knew this really successful businessman. This is Trump here. He knew this really successful businessman who had made all this money, and the guy decided to kind of retire from the business world for a few years so he could go around the world and enjoy his wealth, just enjoy life. He decided to take a couple years sabbatical from the business world. So the guy did it, took his sabbatical, and then he decided to come back to the business world finally after he took his years off. But he didn't have the magic anymore. He wasn't able to make anything happen. All his business deals were failing. He was trying to do things with his money, but all he was doing was losing money. Everything he did failed, and he ended up in life being overall a failure because he was losing all his money. Nothing was working for him anymore when he tried to make his comeback to business. And Donald Trump says that he saw the guy at a cocktail party or something, ran into the guy, and he was like, "Man, you were one of the most successful business people out here. I actually looked up to you. Everybody was in awe of your magic in business and your success in business. Now you're like failing. What the hell happened to you?" And you know what the guy said? You know what his reasoning was for why everything stopped working for him when he came back? He said, "Donald, I lost my momentum." He lost his momentum because he stopped moving. Because again, I told you the law of inertia. An object in motion shall continue to be in motion unless acted upon by some outside force. The guy himself stopped his own momentum because he decided that he wanted to take some time off, and it killed all of his magic, killed all of his momentum. You do not create momentum, ladies and gentlemen, by thinking about creating momentum. If you want to create momentum in your life, you can't get there by thinking about it. You can't get there by making plans. You can't get there by being a consumer over a producer. You can't get there by not defaulting to action. You can't get there by hesitating. If you're going to make things happen and you're going to take your chance when you see it, you must default to action over inaction. Let's recap today's topic, which is when you see a chance, take it. Point number 1, pay attention. Not to everything, but to the things that can help you get to where you want to go, which means you got to know where you want to go. What do you need? What is your next goal? You need answers to these questions, and they need to be clear. You need to know them off the top of your head. Point number 2, do not hesitate when you see your shot. In sports, hesitation is fatal. You're an open 3-point shooter in basketball and that pass is a half second late, you're not open anymore. You might not even be able to get the shot off, let alone make it. If you're playing football and about to make a tackle and you hesitate to move, the guy you were about to tackle has already ran past you or ran over you. If you're in baseball and you want to swing at a pitch and you hesitate, the ball's already in the catcher's mitt by the time you figure out what to do. And the umpire is yelling strike. In life, some opportunities exist only in the moment in which you see the opportunity. Those who work in sales know this. If you can't close a prospect today, there's a 90% chance you're not going to close them tomorrow. We often lull ourselves into procrastination by rationalizing our hesitation, believing that every opportunity is going to wait on us, and it's absolutely wrong. People who come into power in life make decisions quickly and definitively. Again, go find a person you know who's in power. Think of the person you know who is the most powerful of all the people you know. Do they make decisions quickly and definitively? I guarantee you they do. And if they're the wrong decision, they make them right. Point number 3, default to action over inaction. Why? Reason A, you're better off doing something and being wrong than doing nothing and having a question mark. You don't want to have any regrets in your life of what could have been. Reason B, this separates you from the people who are too afraid to take action that does not come with a guarantee, which is most people. And reason C, action creates energy. Energy creates momentum. You lose your momentum when you don't act, when you hesitate, when you stop to think about something, when you already know that's the opportunity, but you stop to think about it and make sure it's right. By the time you figure it out, the opportunity is gone. Don't let that be you. Now, how do you actually imbue this and make it real in your life on a consistent basis? I suggest you read my Bulletproof Bundle. Those are my 4 best books on the mental game. Same stuff we talk about here every single day. That's the Mirror of Motivation, which is the self-guide, the self-discipline, the mental handbook, your guidebook for building a bulletproof mindset for sports and life, the Super You, unlocking and living with your highest level of self-confidence, and 100 mental game best practices, top skills that you need to play the most important game you will ever play, which is known as the mental game. All 4 of those books together in a bundle. It is called the Bulletproof Bundle. You can get that at workonmygame.com/BB for the Bulletproof Bundle. And over at the game group, all of these, everything that I mentioned here today, all the episodes that I referenced, everything that is coming out of Work on Your Game podcast, we're creeping on 1,000 hours of material here on this show, 1,000 hours of master classes. All right, this is not some junk. This is not just some random off the top stuff that's being talked about here. This could be a college course. If I put everything here together, it would be longer than a college course. You might need 2 semesters to take this class. All of this is being organized and categorized in the game group membership. So any category that you want to hear me talk about, people sometimes on social media leave me comments and say, Dre, have you ever talked about this subject? Or what about this? Or have you ever talked about something like that? Or someone will ask me, Dre, I heard one time in a video or somewhere in your book or in an episode, you mentioned this story or this thing right here or this thing right here. Do you remember where it was so I can listen to that or read it again or see it again? All of that is in the game group. It is organized. It is structured. Everything is perfectly curated. It's basically like an encyclopedia of all this mental game stuff that we talk about. And it's not just all my material, it's also material from others. So you hear me referencing other people's material damn near every time this show comes out. That material will be referenced in the game group membership. So you can see the scene in the TV show that I talked about, or you can watch the clip that I was referring to, or you can know where to go get the book that I was talking about. All of that is happening in the game group. You can find out about the game group membership, full details at workonmygame.com/game group. Work on your game. Dre all day.